Hi, I'm Lisa Green from the Australian Institute of International Affairs, and here with me today is Mr. Purevsuren, Foreign Policy Advisor to the President of Mongolia and former Foreign Minister. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I'd first like to talk about Australia's relationship with Mongolia. So recently Australia opened its first embassy in Mongolia, which is a clear reflection of our close ties. How do you see our relationship evolving, particularly in terms of bilateral trade?
So really, I think the one of the youngest embassy in Ulaanbaatar is Australian embassy. We are quite happy after years of the consulate general to welcome the new ambassador, resident ambassador. So in the reality, I think our economic cooperation is very, very broad, because many Australian companies, especially mining companies, are invested in Mongolia. The largest mining investor in Mongolia is Rio Tinto. We consider Rio Tinto is an Australian company. So about more than 50 Australian companies invest already in Mongolia. And Australia bringing also one of the best managements and experience for the mining investment in Mongolia. And then therefore, I think I see the big future for the bilateral trade and then investments. So I was always telling the investors, so if you're going to look to invest in Mongolia, don't look only the domestic Mongolian market. Mongolia is strategically located between Russia and China. So from Mongolia, you could reach easily also the Chinese market or the Russian market in the Northeast East Asia region. And then therefore, I think many Australian companies are going to discover the Mongolian market, and then also the regional market based in Mongolia.
Thank you. So Mongolia recently signed a trilateral economic partnership with Russia and China. Can you foresee Mongolia developing similar partnerships with Asian Pacific countries?
So you're right. This year, as Foreign Minister in June during the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tashkent, we have signed the program on building the economic corridor between Mongolia, Russia, and China. So we identified 32 projects. It's mostly infrastructure projects connecting Russia, China, and Mongolia. That's big, I think, investments opportunities is there, and there will be open also investment for the third resource. Even Australian companies could invest there. So we have the economic cooperation not only with the two neighbors, also with other nations from Asia Pacific region. The first free trade agreement we have signed last year with Japan, and then went in force this year in June, and then Japan is now getting, I think, very important partner for Mongolia. South Korea is another also partner for us. India, the Prime Minister Modi visited 2 years ago Mongolia, and then now growing interest from Indian companies to invest in Mongolia. As I said, the Australian companies was one of the pioneers. Was in Mongolia, so late 90s they come, and then now more than 50 Australian companies working in Mongolia. And they had the good experience that they know now the local markets, the managements, their situation there. I think there will be more investments. So other countries are coming and from the region, and we hope that Mongolia will be part of the regional economic alliances like APEC and then others, and we know that Australian position on that, they are very supportive of us to become the member in the regional economic alliances.
How does Mongolia's strategic position affect its foreign policy direction?
Heavily, I would say.
Yeah.
So of course, there is the nature. Every country should and must live in a good cooperation, good neighborhood with the neighbors. Therefore, the premier goal of the Mongolian foreign policy is always to keep the good cooperation in the neighborhood and partnership and the friendship with the two neighbors. And but we would like to have also with the third countries, we are calling it the third neighbor policy. We would also have close cooperation, including Australia and also the European Union, also Japan, Korea, India, Turkey, also Central Asian states, also United States. They're all also partners for us, and then we are welcoming all that third investments activities, and then bilateral cooperation. That's on the good way, good balancing. That's I think very famous. That's concept of the Mongolian foreign policy of the third neighbors.
And on that topic of balance, how has the Dalai Lama's recent informal visit to Mongolia affected bilateral relations between Mongolia and China?
So you know that the Dalai Lama was the guest of our religions organizations, and the government's nothing to do. I think foreign ministry, the foreign minister also explaining that, and he is not the first time in Mongolia. Mongolia is, I think, is now the only independent country which considers Dalai Lama as the head of the spiritual leader, and therefore I think Dalai Lama was usual visit to Mongolia, and then China is reacting as usual, and I think that some government delegation visits, talks was postponed, but I saw that at least one trilateral agreements was signed last week in already. I think the two neighbors should talk each other and then also work together. I think their life is rich enough, but always dialogue and talk to each other and then understood each other. That's, I think, way to cooperate in the future. I think the both countries is going to manage it very soon. Yeah.
Okay. And finally, I would like to discuss Mongolia's nuclear-free status. How important is it for Mongolia to stay committed to nuclear non-proliferation in the region and to engage with other nuclear-free states such as Japan and South Korea?
So Mongolia has declared its own territory as single state as nuclear-free zone, early 90s, and that's more than 20 years now. But the good thing is we have the UN decision on that, and then P5 has agreed and signed documents honoring that Mongolian status. Mm-hmm. So it means that the Mongolian nuclear status is recognized by the highest international organization, the UN. So that, of course, is a good example for the region. This Northeast Asia region is one of the difficult regions in the world, Korean Peninsula and then others. So at least our two neighbors are the nuclear powers, and then I think Japan and then South Korea is sophisticated to have also nuclear nukes, but that's not the way to solve the problem, and therefore is, I think, Mongolian example. So how to reach it, and how negotiate it, and how was the guarantees from P5 is also very interesting learning process for others, and including also the regional countries as you mentioned, Japan, also South Korea, also including North Korea. And therefore, Mongolia is ready to share that experience regionally, also to contribute, also in the future to free the region from the nukes. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. For more videos and interviews, please follow the link on the screen and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.